This story will not only improve your English, but also show you the real power of family, betrayal, and self-worth. As we go along, pay close attention to the emotions and language used, and think about how you would feel in a similar situation. Are you ready? Let's begin. My name is Maren. I'm 24 years old, and I'm a nurse. I work at a small hospital in my hometown, and I love helping people. It's not an easy job, but I find comfort in it. But there's something else that has always bothered me, something deep inside my heart. My parents, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, have always treated me like I was nothing. They never believed in me. They always compared me to my older brother, Alaric. He's a doctor, a real success in their eyes. I never stood a chance against him. Growing up, I always tried to prove myself, but it was never enough. No matter how hard I worked, it felt like I was invisible to them. I would come home from school or work, eager to tell them about my day, but my parents would just nod and ask about Alaric. Did Alaric finish his new research? Has Alaric found a better hospital to work in? I couldn't compete with that. No matter how much I wanted to be good enough, it was always clear that I wasn't. Over time, I gave up trying. I stopped telling them about my accomplishments. I didn't want to hear the disappointment in their voices, but still, it hurt. It hurt every time they looked at me like I was a failure. I could feel their eyes on me, judging, comparing, wishing I were someone else. One day, everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I got a call from my mother. I had been working the night shift at the hospital, and I was exhausted, just trying to get some rest before my next shift started. But when I saw her name on the phone, I answered. "Maren, we need to talk." My mother's voice was cold, distant. I could tell something was wrong. "Mom, what's going on?" "I don't know how to say this," she began. "But your father and we've decided we can't support you anymore." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. My breath caught in my throat, and I struggled to process what she was saying. "You're not the daughter we wanted," she continued. "You're not nothing compared to Alaric. You're not going anywhere in life, Maren. You need to find your own way. We can't keep pretending." I felt my heart sink. All those years of trying to be good enough, all the love I had given them, it meant nothing, nothing at all. "We'll no longer be in contact," she said, her voice emotionless. "Don't call us again." Before I could respond, the line went dead. I was left staring at the phone, my hands shaking, my eyes filled with tears. It wasn't the first time my parents had let me down, but this was different. They had disowned me. The people who should have cared the most about me had turned their backs. I sat in silence for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. But as the days passed, I realized something. I was still standing. I was still working as a nurse, helping people, saving lives. I had my own life, my own identity. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. But that's when things took an unexpected turn. About a week later, I got another call from my mother. Her voice was frantic this time, full of desperation. "Maren, we need you. Your father. He's in trouble. Please, we need your help." My heart stopped. I had never heard my mother sound like this. "What happened?" I asked, my voice trembling. "It's your father," she repeated. "He's had a heart attack. The doctor said only someone with experience can save him. We need you to come. Please, Maren, don't leave us." I felt a wave of emotions crash over me. Anger, betrayal, confusion. How could they come to me now, after everything they had said, after they had thrown me away like I was nothing? But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore them. Despite everything, my father was still my father, and I was still a nurse. I had the skills to save him. The question was, would I? Should I? I stood there staring at the phone, the weight of the decision hanging heavily in the air. What should I do? The phone in my hand felt heavier with each passing second. My mind was racing. Should I go? Should I help them after they had disowned me so easily? It would be so easy to ignore their call, to let them face the consequences of their actions. After all, they had made it clear that I wasn't part of their world anymore. But then, I thought about my father. Despite everything, he was still my father. And no matter what had happened between us, no matter how much they had hurt me, I knew I had the skills to help him. I had been trained to save lives. Could I really turn my back on that? I didn't know how long I stood there thinking. The emotions were so tangled: anger, hurt, but also a deep, confusing sense of responsibility. The nurse in me screamed that I had to go. My parents, for all their faults, were family, and family, despite everything, was still family. With a deep breath, I made my decision. I would go, but I wouldn't go back to being the person they had thrown away. I would go as a professional, as someone who was no longer dependent on their approval. I didn't owe them anything, but I owed my father this. When I arrived at the hospital where my father was being treated, I was met by a flurry of nurses and doctors moving in every direction. My mother was standing outside his room, wringing her hands. She looked up as I walked towards her, and for a moment, our eyes locked. There was guilt there. There was desperation. "Maren, thank you for coming," she said softly, almost pleading. "Please, we need you. He's not going to make it without your help." I didn't respond. I didn't even want to look at her, but I forced myself to nod and walk past her into my father's room. When I stepped inside, I felt a wave of coldness wash over me. My father, the man who had always been so strong, so proud, was lying there, pale and fragile. The machines beeped softly in the background, his life hanging in the balance. It was hard to reconcile the man in front of me with the strong, judgmental figure he had once been. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it. I had to focus. I had to do my job. The doctor stepped aside to let me take charge. I quickly assessed the situation. His heart rate was dangerously low, and his blood pressure was dropping fast. I didn't waste any time. I barked orders to the other nurses and began the process of stabilizing him. I had done this 100 times before, but this time it was different. This time, I was saving the man who had never believed in me. It felt strange. I was so used to feeling invisible in my own family, and now, here I was, holding their lives in my hands. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of satisfaction. Maybe this was my chance to show them I was more than they had ever given me credit for. As I worked, my mind kept wandering back to the phone call, to the way my mother had spoken to me. I couldn't help but wonder, what had changed? Why were they calling me now? Why had they suddenly realized they needed me? I had spent my whole life feeling worthless to them, and now they were acting like I was their savior. It didn't make sense. And yet, here I was, the one they had cast aside, now their only hope. After what felt like an eternity, my father's condition finally stabilized. I stepped back, exhausted. my body aching from the physical and emotional toll. The doctors moved in to continue the treatment, and I stepped out of the room to take a moment to collect myself. My mother was waiting for me, standing outside the door. When she saw me, she rushed over, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and guilt. "You saved him," she said, her voice trembling. "Maren, I don't know what to say. We were wrong. We should have never treated you like that. I'm so sorry." I stared at her, the anger rising inside me again. She had hurt me. She had made me feel like I was nothing. And now she was asking for forgiveness. It wasn't that simple. "I don't want your apology," I said, my voice cold. "You don't get to just take it back. You don't get to throw me away and then call me when you need something." She looked like I had slapped her. Tears filled her eyes. "Maren, please. I know we've made mistakes, but we need you. We need you now more than ever. Please, come back to us. You're part of this family." I shook my head. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond to her words. They felt empty to me now, like they were just words to make her feel better. "I'm not coming back," I said, my voice steady. "I'm not coming back to a family that didn't believe in me. I'm not your backup when things go wrong. I'll help my father because I'm a nurse, and that's what I do. But you can't expect me to forgive and forget just like that." My mother looked down, her face falling with shame. I felt a strange sense of peace inside me. I had said what needed to be said. I wasn't going to be her emotional backup anymore. I wasn't going to be the daughter she only wanted when it suited her. I turned and walked away, feeling the weight of everything that had happened slowly lift off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I was truly free. Free from the expectations. Free from the guilt. I was just Maren, and that was enough. The days that followed were filled with a strange silence. My father's condition improved, but my relationship with my family did not. I could see them trying to reach out, sending texts and calling, but I didn't pick up. It was as though a door had slammed shut between us, and no matter how much they wanted to push it open, I was determined to keep it locked. I focused on my work at the hospital, immersing myself in the lives of the patients who needed me. I found comfort in the certainty of my job. When someone's life was at risk, I knew exactly what to do. But outside the hospital, my emotions were still a tangled mess. My mind kept returning to my parents, to the way they had treated me, to the things they had said, and to the part of me that still felt a deep ache every time I thought about the family I once wanted to be part of. But one evening, as I was walking home from the hospital, I got a call. It was from my mother again. "Maren, I need you." Her voice cracked with fear, desperation bleeding through her words. "It's Alaric. He's in trouble. He's been in a car accident." My heart skipped a beat. My brother. I had never been close to him, but the news hit me like a punch. He was still family, and whether I liked it or not, something inside me urged me to act. It wasn't just about him. It was about my parents, too. They were already asking me for help, and I knew they wouldn't go to anyone else. "Where is he?" I asked, trying to steady my voice. "He's at St. Thomas's Hospital," my mother said quickly. "Please, hurry! We need you, Maren. I know I've said terrible things to you, but I need you to come. You're the only one who can help." I didn't say anything at first. The anger that had been simmering inside me flared up again. They had hurt me so badly, And now they were calling me when their perfect son was in trouble? How dare they? But deep down, I knew that if I didn't go, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Despite the pain, despite everything, I couldn't just turn my back. I had to go. For him. For them. When I arrived at the hospital, I rushed through the corridors, my heart pounding. I found Alaric in a hospital room, unconscious and hooked up to machines. He was pale, his breathing shallow. The doctors were working frantically, and my mother was standing in the corner, her face pale and tear-streaked. "Maren," she whispered as I walked in. "Please, help him. We need you." I nodded without saying anything. I approached Alaric's bed and began to assess his condition. The situation was dire. He had suffered severe head trauma, and the doctors were struggling to stabilize him. I quickly took over, directing the staff and making decisions without hesitation. This was what I was trained to do. As I worked, I couldn't help but notice my mother's eyes on me. She was watching me, waiting for something. I wasn't sure what it was. Maybe it was hope, maybe it was guilt. But it was there, in her eyes, and it made my stomach turn. I had to keep my emotions in check. Alaric's life was in my hands, and there was no time for personal feelings. Every move I made was calculated. Every decision was about saving him, not about the years of hurt that had been caused. For a moment, it felt like I was just doing my job again, like I was still the same person who had never been good enough for them. But then, I realized something. This wasn't just a job. This wasn't just about being a nurse. This was about proving to myself that I was more than they ever gave me credit for. As the night dragged on, I continued to work tirelessly. The tension in the room grew. My mother stood quietly by, watching me, and I couldn't tell if she was afraid of me or afraid of losing her son. I had to block out the emotions and focus on saving him. Finally, after what felt like hours, we stabilized Alaric. His condition wasn't perfect, but he was alive. I stepped back, exhausted, feeling the weight of the situation settle on my shoulders. I had done it. I had saved him. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a hollow victory. I turned to my mother, who was standing there, tears streaming down her face. She rushed toward me and hugged me tightly, her body trembling. "Maren, thank you. Thank you so much. You don't know how much this means to us, to me. We were wrong. We didn't see what we had in you." I pulled away from her, my mind racing. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. The moment when they finally acknowledged me. But even now, it didn't feel enough. "No, Mom," I said quietly, shaking my head. "It's not enough. You can't just ask for forgiveness after everything that's happened. You can't just say thank you and expect everything to be okay." She stared at me, confused and hurt. "What do you mean? We're family. Don't you want us to be together again?" I took a deep breath, my chest tight with emotion. "I've spent my whole life trying to get your approval, trying to make you see me, but you never did. And now, after everything, I can't just forget how you treated me. I'm here because I'm a nurse. I'm here because I help people. But that doesn't change what you did to me." My mother's eyes welled up with tears, but I turned away. I couldn't let her see how much it still hurt. For the first time in my life, I realized that I didn't need their approval. I didn't need to be the daughter they wanted. I didn't need to be anyone else but myself. And maybe that was the most important thing I had learned from all of this. The days that followed felt like a blur. My father was recovering slowly, but the emotional weight of what had happened between my family and me lingered. I had helped them, no question. I had saved my father, and I had saved my brother. But at what cost? Every time I walked into that hospital room, I was reminded of the hurt that had been done to me. Every apology my mother gave felt empty, as if it couldn't undo the years of disappointment, the years of being treated like I was invisible. But I wasn't invisible anymore. I went back to my life, back to my work at the hospital, focusing on the people who needed me. I didn't pick up my phone when my mother called. I didn't return the messages. She had apologized, but I wasn't ready to forgive. And, deep down, I wasn't sure if I ever would be. Then, one day, I got a letter. It wasn't from my parents, but from a lawyer. I opened it carefully, my heart pounding in my chest. The letter was short, but the words struck me with the force of 1,000 punches. It was a legal document. My parents wanted me to come to the house, to discuss family matters. My mind spun as I read it. They wanted me back. They wanted to talk about their will. Their will? Why would they need me for that? The confusion hit me hard. I hadn't expected this. After everything that had happened, I couldn't understand why they were asking me to come back, especially now, when I had made it clear that I wasn't part of their plans anymore. What could they possibly want? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I thought about it all day, and as evening came, I made up my mind. I would go, but I wouldn't let myself be fooled again. If they thought they could win me back with guilt or manipulation, they were wrong. I was no longer the daughter they could control. When I arrived at their house, the door was already open. My mother stood there, her eyes anxious as she waved me inside. There was no warmth in her gesture, no comfort in the way she smiled. It felt rehearsed, like she knew she was asking for something, but didn't know how to say it. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly, stepping aside to let me in. I nodded, walking into the hallway, my footsteps heavy with the knowledge that this wasn't going to be easy. We sat at the dining table, the same table where I had spent years pretending that everything was fine, pretending that I mattered. My parents sat across from me, their faces tired, their eyes filled with expectation. They looked older somehow. The years had caught up to them in ways that made me feel even more distant. "I don't know where to begin," my father started, his voice raspy. He had always been a man of few words, but there was something different in the way he spoke now. "We've made mistakes, Maren. We've hurt you in ways we can't take back. We've treated you badly, and for that, we are truly sorry." I looked at them both, my heart hardening. The words sounded so familiar, like something I had heard 1,000 times before. Sorry, sorry, sorry. But it didn't change anything. "You think I don't know that?" I asked, my voice low but steady. "You think that saying sorry will fix everything? You think that, after all the years of telling me I wasn't good enough, that a simple apology is going to make me forget?" They both flinched, but they didn't say anything. They just sat there, waiting for me to give them something, anything that would make everything right. But it wasn't right. It wasn't going to be right. I could see that now. They had hurt me, and I couldn't just go back to being their perfect daughter. I couldn't pretend to be the person they wanted me to be anymore. "I'm not here because of your apology," I said, my voice firmer now. I'm here because you called me. You called me when you needed something, and that's why I came. But I don't need you. I don't need your approval anymore. I've spent my whole life trying to make you see me, trying to be enough for you. But I am enough. I am enough without you. The silence between us stretched. My parents looked at each other, their eyes filled with a mixture of regret and confusion. I could see them grappling with the reality of what I was saying, the reality that they had lost me. "Maren, we're sorry," my mother said again, her voice trembling. "We didn't know how to be the parents you needed." I shook my head. "You didn't know because you never tried. You never really saw me. You only saw what you wanted me to be." And with that, I stood up. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore. I just felt free. Free from the years of trying to earn their love. Free from the years of self-doubt they had planted in my heart. I turned to leave, and as I reached the door, I heard my father's voice behind me. "Maren, please, don't leave us like this." I paused, but I didn't turn around. "I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving the version of me that I thought you wanted. I'm leaving the part of me that thought I needed your love to be happy." And with that, I stepped out of their house, feeling the weight of a lifetime lift off my shoulders. Moral lesson: in life, we often seek approval from those who should love us unconditionally. But the truth is, we don't need anyone's approval to be happy. We don't need to change who we are for anyone. Self-worth comes from within, and sometimes, walking away from the people who hurt us is the only way to find our true strength. Never let anyone make you feel like you're not enough. You are enough just as you are. In English, when we talk about something that has happened in the past but still affects us today, we use the present perfect tense. This helps show the connection between past actions and their current effect. For example, I have been trying to make my parents see me, but they never understood. You can use the present perfect tense to express how past experiences are still relevant today. It helps to make your sentences sound more natural and conversational. Let's look at some important vocabulary words from today's story. Disowned. This means to refuse to accept someone as part of your family or group. It's like saying, "You are no longer part of my life." Approval. This means when someone agrees with or gives their support to something you did. You might ask for approval before making a big decision. Apology. When you say sorry for something you've done wrong. An apology shows regret or remorse. Regret. To feel sorry or disappointed about something that has happened in the past. Savior. Someone who saves another person, especially in a dangerous or difficult situation. Now let's practice some sentences from the story. Repeat after me. I don't need your approval anymore. I am enough without you. You can't expect me to forgive and forget. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. I hope it helped you improve your English and gave you something to think about. What do you think? Have you ever had to walk away from someone or something that was hurting you? Let us know in the comments. See you next time.